I had my one-story, one-family bungalow right here, and right next to it were very similar structures.
Until 2012, Joe Tyrone had a house here in the New York borough of Staten Island. Then came Hurricane Sandy.
I had an 11-foot water line on the outside, and I had a 7-foot water line on the inside, and everything in the house was destroyed.
Joe's house was near the Atlantic Ocean, and there had been floods in that area before. But previous storms were separated by decades rather than months, and that's what persuaded him and fellow residents not to rebuild when Sandy came.
2011, 2012, a new reality started to take place, and that part of that is, I guess you could say, global warming, and that this is not going to be something that's not going to happen again for another 20 years, 30 years, or 100 years. It's going to happen again. The recognition of that made it viable for them to accept the notion of buyout.
Nearby homes that survived the storm now stand empty, as the area has been designated economically ineffective to protect. Joe helped residents get access to a state fund which bought homes at above their pre-storm market rates. But in the heart of New York, the calculation is different. With some of the most expensive property in the world, there's no talk of retreat, even with sea levels expected to rise 1 to 2 feet by 2050 and by as much as 6 feet by the end of the century. Daniel Zarilli is in charge of climate change mitigation for the city.
Well, New York City is not moving upstate. New York City is where it is. It developed over the last 400 years, and we are here because we are the gateway to America.
The city is currently considering a system of raised earthworks and walls stretching around Lower Manhattan, home to Wall Street. Called the Big U, this simulation shows what the project could look like. Less glamorous changes to the building code are just as important. Things like moving key amenities above ground level will help reduce the damage of flooding if it does happen. All of this is part of a $20 billion climate action package instigated by former Mayor Michael Bloomberg. It has broad political backing, hopefully ensuring that even if Donald Trump's administration denies the reality of climate change, the Big Apple won't go under.